Morning all! Morning TikTok, morning Facebook, morning YouTube. How are we all? Are we all good? Hope we're all well. I'm a little bit late this morning. I'll tell you why. I had a new new Wi-Fi fitted to the house. New router, new passwords, everything. I connected everything up. And then I decided to change the password to a slightly easier password for us to remember for when you're connecting. And then forgot that once you change the password, you then need to reconnect everything. So I've just come in this morning and it's like, computer says no. So I was trying to, I was like, wow, but my computer would remember the old network and then it just wouldn't connect. And I had no idea how to forget the network. Anyway, you didn't need to know that. I just thought I'd tell you. I thought I'd give you my, I like to indulge a little bit in my life stresses. And and you might be sat there going, if that's stress, Neil, I'll take it all day long. It was at the time. We're all good now. We're all sorted. Everything's sorted. Basically, everything's good. We're on. Obviously, we're on because we're there. I'll take the phone's fine. The phone was easy. It's the Facebook, YouTube thing. Anyway, hope we're all good. It is Monday, the 28th of July. It is my mum's birthday today. She's 79 today. Is the Queen Boss. We went out over the weekend. I want to talk about that. I'm going to do a bit of content on that today, actually, because I had quite a few. I put a picture of it on Instagram, and I had quite a few people saying, "Oh, I wish I could enjoy an afternoon tea while losing weight." I'm going to tell you that you can. And I'm going to do some content today on that. Anyway, there we go. It is the last Monday of July of 2025. I can't believe it. This time next week, we'll be flying into August. You've also had 1 week down in England of school summer holidays. How's it going? I know it definitely can be a bit of a trickier time, a bit of a tougher time, the old summer holidays. A lot of people do struggle a little bit for various reasons with summer holidays. I have done a weight loss coaching live on it recently. But anyway, how did your first week go? It feels ages since I did that live about summer holidays. But it is just a week, isn't it? It is just a week. 1 week down, 5 to go. Cheers, Neil. Thanks for reminding us. If you're in Scotland, I think you'll be 3 weeks down, 3 weeks to go. You're halfway through. You're flying now. You're the new routine of some holidays is now old routine. You're halfway through. You're focused on, mid to the end of August. Kids are back. Everything's back to normal. Anyway, let's do a top 5 this morning on TikTok. This is a weight loss live, so if you've got any weight loss questions that you want to ask me, ask away, get in the chat box. As always, I will do my very best to answer them if I can. Let's scan up and let's do a top 5 on TikTok first. That's the first port of call. Jackie's in at number 1. Debs is in at number 2. Lynn's in at number 3. Faye's in at number 4. Mr. John Jackson is in at number 5. Good morning, guys. Thank you as always for jumping straight on the live. Lou, good morning. Callum, good morning. Sheila, good morning. Anna, good morning. Paul, good morning. Lisa's in. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Who else in? Morning, buddy. Back at work today. Not looking forward to it. James, I know it. I'm hoping you're not looking forward to it just because it's a bit of those work blues. Oh, I've got to go back to work. But, mate, honestly, get yourself back into a routine. And you're going to find, I know you've been struggling a little bit recently with your journey, but honestly, I just think you've just been a bit out of routine. Get back into that routine and you'll be back at it, mate. You really, really will. And once you've done a week, mate, once you've done a week or two, once you're back at work, get this week out of the way. Again, you'll be back into the routine, you'll be back into the swing of things. Mick Young, good morning, mate. Hope you're all well. MJ was not MJ last week, so I basically ended up having an unplanned weight loss break. You're very up and down with it at the moment, Paul. Hopefully, you can find a little bit of balance to the force. I kind of know what you're going to do this week. I've kind of already got in my head what you're going to do. You're going to tell me what you're going to do, but I kind of got in my head what I think you might do. Morning, boss. Morning, everyone. Angela, good morning. And I think really, in a way, Paul, because you had such a low dose, or you dropped your dose right down, I think you're kind of clearing your system out. as it were, and then it's just going to be a kind of a restart, as it were. I didn't have the best week last week. I will be discussing it fully in this week's weekly weight loss vlog. I didn't have a bad week, but I didn't have a great week. I had nothing on. I had no excuses for it, really. I just did not have the best week. I found it a little bit hard to control my calories last week for a few different reasons. And then this week, calories have just run away with me a little bit. I've stayed accountable. I've tracked reasonably well. I don't think I've tracked very well. Again, I'm going to discuss that in this week's weekly weight loss vlog today. Is it something I'm concerned about? No. If I was like this week in, week out, yes, I would be. But I think there's a couple of reasons. I know there's a couple of reasons for it. But am I going to look too deep into it? No, because it is just a one-off. But I will discuss it all. But yeah, I didn't have the best. Don't get me wrong. Still in a calorie deficit. Yes. Still in a decent calorie. Yes. Just for my own high standards that I've kind of set myself this year, just wasn't quite there. I will be discussing it this morning. Oh, well, it'll be out at tea time. Tina, good morning, Neil. Good morning, Tina. Emma, J. Ray, your cream tea looked incredible. I had a planned cream tea on Saturday and was a bit too posh for us. I showed my husband yours and he said he would have gone there. Yeah, so we there's a place that we go to. It's in between, if you know the area. So I live in Lancashire. I'm Blackpool born and bred, but I don't know. I've never lived directly in Blackpool. I've always lived in between Blackpool and Preston, really. I live kind of right in the middle on the Fylde coast. And up towards, in between Blackpool, Preston, Garstang, really, there's a little place called Myerscough. And we go to Light Ash, it's called. Light Ash. It's a brilliant place. It's been there for a long time now. And Joe that owns it, actually, it used to be a personal training client of mine. So the cream tea I got that I posted, in terms of size, might have been, not cakes, I'll be honest with you, butties at the bottom, might have been slightly more than what you would normally get, because she always chucks a couple of extras on because she just knows me. But even if you didn't get it, they are massive. They are huge. They are absolutely superb. They're 18 quid each, right, for their afternoon tea. So yeah, 36 for two, £18 each, minimum of two people for the afternoon tea. And it is a proper hearty, like country, like farm shop. It's not a farm shop. They call it a farm. It used to be a farm shop. It's not anymore. It's just a cafe now. But it is proper hearty. There's no little fiddly bits and pieces. You get a chunk of cake. You get a nice scone. You get some good sandwiches whacked with a load of filling in. We did this time, we always get a portion of chips. You normally get two butties. You normally get two sandwiches each of, like, they're kind of like finger sandwiches, but you normally get like two cheese, two tuna, two ham. And I think we got three each this time, or maybe even four each, because we took a lot home. But anyway, it is still, even if Joe doesn't know you just book, it is a proper afternoon tea. Yeah, it's serious. And it's absolutely amazing. We got like a meringue with cream in it. Then we got a sticky toffee pudding flapjack. We got a cherry bakewell. We got a vanilla slice, scone jam and cream. And then a load of butties, salad, crisps. And then, we had some chips on the side. And it's class. Yeah, I like that with afternoon tea. We've been to like Betty's Tea Room in Harrogate. We've done the one in Harrogate. Have we done the one in Harrogate, not the one in York? Yeah, we've done the one in Harrogate, not the one in York. And it was lovely. Really, really nice. But it is all a little bit fiddly and a little bit this and your proper little cucumber sandwiches, which is lovely, very traditional. But I like a lot of it. But if you ever go to Light Ash, it's amazing, by the way. It really, really is. I'm not just saying that because Joe used to be a client of mine. We wouldn't go back if the food's amazing. But even if you just go for food, the food itself is ace. Like, it's just like, they call like the sandwiches on the menu doorstop butties, and they are a doorstop butty, you know. Anyway, highly recommend. Wednesday, local cultural show Sunday. Couple of sides and cake. Sounds very, very nice, John. I could have had a beer this weekend. Honestly, I really, really could. I didn't. I did resist. It didn't help with my calorie course that much. but I did resist having a beer this weekend. Sarah Q, good morning. First day on plan for Sarah. Good luck. You don't need luck. Not on my plan. You just got to get ready to it and get at it, and you'll be absolutely fine. Is Greek yogurt a good breakfast option? Absolutely fantastic. One of the best there is. I know we do have an eating pattern where we just associate certain things, like we associate certain things with breakfast, don't we? Like breakfast cereal, porridge, yogurt. Yeah, we have certain associations for lunch. Sandwiches, right? Certain associations. Oh, that's not really tea, meat, and two veg. Well, that's what I do anyway. But yeah, basically, you can eat what you want for breakfast. If you want to have flipping chicken fajitas for breakfast, you can have them. There's no set rules on breakfast. Eat what you want. But I think we've just been brought up in a way, and there's nothing wrong with this. A lot of people slate the way we've been brought, and this and the look, it's just the way things are. And I think what we eat for breakfast, has been like it for years, hundreds of years. But what we should be prioritizing, especially on a weight loss journey, we should be prioritizing this anyway, right? This helps with weight loss, but whether you're trying to lose weight or not, you should be prioritizing protein in your meals. It's one of the most important macronutrients we can eat, certainly as we get older, because a high protein diet, helps to reduce our joints decreasing, our muscles decreasing. It is filling, so it helps to control our calorie intake. Whether we have a weight issue or not, we should be working at making sure we don't overeat food, right? So the way we sort of structure our eating and look at our eating, how many people that are overweight now, if they'd always followed a pattern of eating higher protein foods, higher fiber foods, where they've been able to control their calories more. I'm not saying that things like mental health might not have took over at some point where emotional eating comes in, but would you have emotionally eaten as much food? Would you have eaten, and got to the weight you've got to if you'd structured your eating better? And because food has always been very carb based, right? Certainly in the last, I would say 30, 40 years, maybe even a bit longer, food has always been very, very carb based. And there's nothing wrong with eating carbohydrates. They do not make you fat. Calories make you fat. But what meals that are extremely high in carbs do that are low in protein and are probably low in fiber because you're not eating the right carbohydrates is they digest very quickly. And what's the main issue with stuff digesting quickly? Now, a lot of Burks on social media say, well, it spikes insulin or it spikes your blood sugar, so you release insulin and that makes you more hungry and this, that, and the other. In a way, right, so spiking insulin and raising blood sugars, that's not the issue. But yes, having diets very high in carbohydrates does make you more hungry. And the easiest way to look at that is they just digest very quickly, right? They don't sit in your tummy that long. You go now for your breakfast and eat a bowl of Frosties, they'll be digested in an hour. They'll be gone. They'll be out of your system. You eat a bowl of Frosties at 8 o'clock, they'll be going, yes, you might get a bit of protein because you have milk with them, but they'll be through your system in an hour and a half, right? And then half an hour, 45 minutes after that, your hunger hormones will be flaring up again. So if you eat a bowl of Frosties for your breakfast at 8 a.m. this morning, right, at 9:30, 10 o'clock this morning, you're going to be hungry again. Now, if you're sat if I'm sat here at home, I'm quite lucky. I've got my kitchen just there, and I might go, right, I'll go and get some fruit. Or sometimes we don't have that luxury. Sometimes we've not planned correctly, and we're in the office. And what's only available in the office? Biscuits, right? And if the hunger takes over, biscuits, sweets, snacks. You hit the vending machine, crisps, things like that. Calorie-dense foods. But what are you eating when you're eating biscuits? When you're eating crisps? You're eating more foods that are high in carbohydrates, right? Again, they digest very, very quickly. So next thing you're Hank Marvin. How many of you guys are just hungry all day, right? And if anyone comes to me and goes, I'm hungry, I'm just hungry all the time, and the first thing I go is, right, what's your food made up of? Like, how are you structuring your eating? Yeah, well, I'm in a calorie deficit. Yes, that could be the reason why you're hungry. But did you always used to eat Frosties for your breakfast? But now you're in a calorie deficit, you're eating 50 grams of Frosties instead of 100 grams? Or are you changing your diet to support your appetite control, your calorie control? So ACDC, ACDC, I went up to do to a rock band then. ACAC is Greek yogurt. Greek yogurt's great because it's high in protein. So if you have a breakfast that's high in protein and then make it also high in fibre and then make it a good sized portion, right? If you have that at 8:30, 9 o'clock in the morning, you're not going to be hungry again at 10, 10, reaching for the biscuits. That's, that'll keep you going till lunchtime, right? And then at lunchtime, you have another high protein, high fibre, high volume food, right? That'll keep you going till probably mid-afternoon, right? Or late afternoon. It might keep going 3-4 hours. If you have your lunch at 12, it's going to keep going till 3, 3:30. Then at 3:30, you have a protein shake down your neck, right? That'll then keep you going till 6:30 when you're having your tea. And all these foods should then be, under calorie control, and you shouldn't be hungry all day. Now, that doesn't mean that will necessarily get rid of emotional hunger, whether it will get rid of, but it will very much help with it. And it will certainly help with your, it will certainly help with your, your willpower to say no. It will help with it. You're always going to need some willpower. You're always going to need some, right? But it will help with that. Yeah. Morning, Neil. How do you track something like the afternoon tea you had yesterday? I'm going to go through this in my weekly weight loss vlog. But yes, something like an afternoon tea is, it's certainly an independent cafe like I went to. On the face of it, it might seem like it's impossible to track. It isn't. I put it in as the Dobbies Garden Centre Heritage Cream Tea. Right, it's 1,750 calories. Could the afternoon tea that I had on Saturday have been 1,500 calories? Yeah. Could it have been 2,000 calories? Now, what you saw there is an afternoon tea. That's for 3 people. All right, that was the afternoon tea for 3. Right, it's piled up for 3 of us. Yeah. So was there on that stand 6,000 calories in total? Probably not a million miles away. Let's say I've tracked it as 1,750, and I didn't eat everything. To be honest with you, me and Rach, we took one afternoon tea and split it, and we ate more sandwiches. But in terms of cakes, we split them all, and then the cakes that my mum loved, because we took her for her birthday, like the vanilla slice, we just let her take the rest home. And then we took a couple of bits home. Like my mum wasn't a fan of the cherry Bakewell slice. I took that home and ate that later on. And I didn't change my calories. I just put it at 1,750. So I basically had half an afternoon tea in terms of cakes, full afternoon tea in terms of sandwiches. We then took a couple of cheese butties home, which my mum didn't want. She liked some of the ham and tuna extra. So we were like, you take that, that's your tea sort as well, or maybe your lunch tomorrow. My mum, we had a scone each, me and Rach, but the scones weren't massive. They never are. My mum had one of the meringues with cream in and then took another one home. So we only had half of one of them. The sticky toffee pudding flapjack, we had half of one and we took one home. My mum took one home, but we didn't actually eat it. I ended up binning it. Not that it wasn't nice, it was just very sickly. I just didn't fancy it. And sometimes I just chuck stuff in the bin to stop me eating it for the sake of eating it. We had half a vanilla slice. We had half a cherry Bakewell each, and then I had the other. So I had 3/4 of a cherry Bakewell cake thing. What else was on that? I can't remember. I think that was about it. But I just tracked it as that. Now, like I say, it could have been 1,500 calories. It could have been 2,000 calories. I went at 1,750 because every now and then you've just got to guesstimate, and you've just got to guesstimate with a bit of realism. Now, I used to use Nutricheck has got like a generic afternoon tea, and it's 1,350 calories, and I've used that before in the past. And I thought about it on Friday. I was like, I'm possibly kidding myself a little bit there, thinking that's going to be 1,350. Probably was 1,350 what I actually ate there, because like I say, me and Rach split off the cakes. But then if I take into account the little bits and pieces, I had the extra cherry Bakewell when I got home and an extra couple of cheese butties, right? It probably was up there, right? Now, even if it was 2,000 and I've tracked it at 1,750, every now and then, right, we can guesstimate to the best of our ability. And even if we're not bang on, every now and then, it's not going to make a jot of difference to the journey. if you're guesstimating 3 or 4 times a week, or you're guesstimating something, because that is pretty tricky to like. Don't I could have gone through it. I could have gone through it. I could have literally gone, right, we've got cheese, ham, and tuna sandwiches. So I could have said, right, let's look at Tesco tuna butty, right? One tuna sandwich. Well, that's probably 2 of them is probably equivalent of one of the triangle packs of tuna. So I could put that in. So I've had one of them, and then a cheese, and then a something, and then I could have gone, right, well, that Cherry Bakewell thing is similar to, let's say it's similar to a Mr. Kipling's Cherry Bakewell. And you've just got to look at size and go, right, well, I've had half of one of them. It's probably 1.5 Cherry Bakewell, so I'll put that in, right? That meringue nest with cream in is probably the equivalent of 3 meringue nests that you buy from the supermarket. So 3 of them in, and you've probably got, X amount of fresh cream in there. Again, there's always going to be a little bit of guesstimation. There's a sticky toffee flapjack on there. Right, well, let's go for a flapjack bite from the supermarket. It's probably the size of 4 of them, 200 calories. I could have broken it down on it. I don't need to, because I probably guesstimate a meal once a week. That's it. And it's very rare I guesstimate something that is tricky to track like that. Very, very rare, Like, we probably go once a month to our local Italian and get a pizza. Obviously, again, you don't know the calories, but they're a 12-inch cheese and tomato pizza. Like, pizza's pizza in a way. Do you know what I mean? So if you go for like a medium cheese and tomato pizza from Domino's, thin crust, right? Because that's what our pizza is from our local Italian. It's not like a thick crust, it's proper authentic Italian pizza. So if you did a Domino's medium cheese and tomato pizza, that is a thin crust cheese and tomato pizza. You're not going to be a million miles away. You really, really not. There's certain things we can guesstimate where we can actually be pretty damn accurate with. Something like an afternoon tea is a little bit trickier. I think something like a kebab from a kebab shop's probably a little bit, there's always the odd thing that's a little bit trickier, but every now and then I put it in a 1750 for one afternoon tea. I don't think I'm going to be a million miles away. I generally don't. And if you actually, this is what I did with NutriCheck. I put in afternoon tea and I had a right good scan through it. And there was loads of different ones, actually. Like I say, certain garden centres or certain, more chain sort of well-known brands sort of thing that do afternoon tea. I don't know why I clicked on the Dobbies one. There's a Dobbies garden centre near us. I thought, I'll just click on that one. That's, and I thought 1,750 calories, 400 calories more than the generic. Now, if you go to a posh place that does afternoon tea, and it is, and there are loads of those, aren't there? Like you get a little bit of quiche and a couple of little finger sandwiches and a little scone with a pot of jam. You might be at 1,350. Yeah, not for that beauty that I had the other day. That was a belter. That one. That was an absolute. That was an absolute belter. As a shift worker, including nights, I can confirm that you can eat what you want any time of day. Do you know what? These are the sort of things where people, I'm a very logical thinker. I always have been. And, it can be a downfall at times, but it can be a power at times. And this is it. When people, and when you're more desperate to achieve something, logic kind of goes out the window. And when people do come on, so you can't eat at 9 o'clock at night, can't eat at 10 o'clock at night. And then they come up with these things like, well, as you get into nighttime. And I know they're kind of talking about more when you're, when your body's slowing down and you're getting ready to go into your sleep, your circadian sleep pattern or whatever, your body slows down, your metabolism's not as fast and this, that, and the other. And then I always make it relatable to like, well, night, and then they might come on and argue, yeah, well, if you work nights, right? Well, your calendar is different. Your body clock's different. So midnight when you work nights might be the same as 12 p.m. if you work through the days and you have a normal sleeping pattern. Yes, I get that. But look, at the end of the day, what about these people that do a week of nights and then do 3 weeks of days? Police do that, don't they? They'll go nights. Nurses, yeah, I'm on nights this week. Their body clock's all over the shop all the time then, really, at times. So does that mean that because they spend more time working days than they do nights, that then their body clock's the same as nighttime? They just push through it. Yeah, they might go to sleep for the day, but your body clock doesn't change instantly. So does that mean that all nurses that work 1 week of nights every 3 weeks, whatever, they just get fat because they eat at 2 in the morning? No, do they toss? Right? It's all calories in, calories out. Right? That's it. Doesn't it? And I always say, if you get fat if you eat at 9 o'clock at night time, what about when you go to, even somewhere like Turkey where it's 2 hours ahead, right? Does that mean that, anytime, because your body clock's used to your body clock, does that mean, used to your time zone in the UK? Does that mean as soon as you go on holiday, when you eat after 7 o'clock at night time, you get fat, right? Even if your calories, just doesn't make sense, does it? Or you go to America and they're 6 hours behind. So when we go to America and it's dinner time in America, it's 6 p.m. here, and you're like, oh, you've only got 3. You can only eat till 3 o'clock in America because you get fat after 3, and your body thinks at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, your body thinks it's 9 o'clock. It just doesn't make sense, right? It's calories in, calories out. Why does this thing where you get fat eating at nighttime? There is a big correlation that a lot of people that suffer with their weight issues overeat at nighttime, but correlation doesn't mean causation. People that overeat at night, that person's fat because they eat at 9 o'clock at night. No, they overeat calories at nighttime. They overeat calories at tea time. They overeat calories at dinner time. They overeat calories at lunchtime. We just overall overeat calories, right? It's nothing to do with the time of day the calories are consumed. So yeah, you can eat whenever the hell you want to. In the olden days, everything in our house was something with chips and bread and butter, so I can see where my weight came from. Proper chips, yeah, absolutely. And back in the day, and this is where people go, well, back in the 60s, everyone cooked with lard, and it was all, yeah, they did. But back in the 60s, we might have had high calorie meals, right? But we didn't have access to as many like snacks in between. We didn't have access to as many palatable high calorie foods overall in the house. So yeah, and in the grand scheme of things, cooking chips in lard in a proper chip pan, right? If that's all you ate all night, right, then you weren't overeating calories. Now we sort of try and eat, a 250 calorie count on us meal at 6 o'clock at night time, and then you're starving again 3 hours later. And as we get more tired, right, our self-control disappears, right? Our going, no, I won't eat that. And also, when you're tired at 9 o'clock at night time, yes, the correct answer might be go and make yourself 400 calories worth of poached egg on toast. It's going to be a lot more filling. A lot of people, after a full day of work, doing the kids' uniforms, cleaning up a little bit, and you just crash on the couch at 9 o'clock, and now you're hungry, you're not going to go, yeah, what I'll do is I'll get up and I'll spend the next 20 minutes, toast, put the kettle on, boiling water, make poached egg, do the washing up again. You're not. You go for convenience, right, which tends to be crisps and biscuits and things like that. Also, what we have to understand is we move loads more. Even 20 years ago, we moved way more 20 years ago than we do today. We moved way more 30 years ago than we do today. Way more 40 years ago than we do today. So yeah, we might have eaten more calorific foods in a way. Yes, we might have cooked with proper lard, butter, beef dripping, all this, that, and the other. But in the 60s, it was 3 square meals a day. It was breakfast, it was lunch, it was tea. At night time, you weren't smashing the Ben and Jerry's in because it wasn't invented then. Not many houses in the 60s had fridge freezers, right? They had pantries, larders, like that were cool. People went to the shop every day to get their milk. They got their milk delivered every day because it went off with it because you didn't have a fridge to put it in. You might have had like a cool pantry at the back, right, of your house or something like that that would have kept it a little bit better, like your cupboard under the stairs or something like that. And that's how it was. You know, we went shopping every day for your butter and your milk and your cheese, things that were perishable, right? So, you know, and we've just moved loads more, you know. So we might have eaten 2,000 calories a day in the 60s, right? 2,500 calories a day. We probably burnt that easily, you know. Whereas in this day and age, we just don't move more. You know, what's my job now? No one did this in the 60s. I literally sleep. I'm literally sat here now doing this live, looking at my bed, right? Because I'm in my back garden and our bedroom backs onto the back garden. So we live in a bungalow. And I'm literally like, my office now is 10 yards from where I sleep. I don't even need to walk to a car, drive, park up. You know, at least Rachel, she works in Preston. She's at least walked to her car, which is further, the car's further than my office is, right? She then drives to Preston, parks on a car park at work, and then has to walk from the car into. I'm not saying it's far, but it's certainly more than I have to walk to get to work, right? And you know, I used to get this when I first started as a personal trainer. I would get, well, it's just hard because I'm in the office all the time, getting my steps in. Now the excuse I get is, oh, it's just hard getting my steps in all the time because I work from home. And people that used to tell me it was hard getting the steps in because they worked in an office used to tell me that'd be great if I worked from home. You know, instead of you know, Rachel left at 20 past 8 this morning. She'll get to the office at 10 to 9, right? If she worked from home, she could have left the house at 20 past 8 and gone for a 30-minute walk and got to the office at the same time because the office would have been in her house or in our house, right? We don't. How many of you guys on this live now pre-COVID, used to commute every single day into an office that took 20 minutes, half an hour, right? And since COVID, you can now work from home 3 days a week, 4 days a week, permanently working from home. How many of you now utilize that commuting time that you used to do every single day? You had to do it. 20 minutes into the office, 20 minutes home, every single day you had to do it. How many of you now utilize that time to go for a walk to get your steps in, or do you just have an extra 20 minutes pissing about before you get to work? Extra 20 minutes in bed, 20 minutes sat on the sofa, 20, you know, and this is what we have to, you know. I used to, and I'm guilty of this. I get my steps in, so I'm not too, but you know, every single day pre-COVID, I used to work as a personal trainer, and to drive to the gym was 15 minutes there, 15 minutes back. I used to do that every single day. What do I utilize that time to do? Because it's extra time I've got now. Because I literally walk two seconds and I'm in my office. So I've got an extra half hour every single day where I don't need to commute to work and back. How can I utilize that time? Do you know what I mean? Can eating too much protein be a bad thing? Eating too much of anything can be a bad thing. So how can there's two main reasons why eating too much protein could be a bad thing. Number one, you overconsume calories, right? Now that might sound daft, right? But people are like, well, you know, I know Jez there is asking more on a medical point of view, a health point of view, but, you know, protein's 4 calories a gram, right? So if you eat 250, and then alongside that, there's also going to be a little bit of fat and carbs with it, right? So, you know, if you eat 250 grams of protein a day, that is at least 1,000 calories in pure protein, irrelevant of what else is attached to that protein. So if you eat too much protein in a day, you could overeat calories, right? In terms of which, you know, is counterproductive to what we're trying to achieve. In terms of health, there are links between high protein diet and kidney issues, right? Now, for you, if you have no kidney issues, the amount of protein you would have to eat in a day to create kidney issues, you're just not going to do it on a weight loss journey. You are talking 400-500 grams a day, right? Certain massive bodybuilders can struggle with this that do, you know, my mate's a bodybuilder. He's a big bodybuilder. He's on performance enhancing drugs. He's absolutely huge. He eats 6,000 calories a day. That's his daily caloric intake. That is what he eats to maintain his muscle and to have the energy to keep training as hard as he trains to build the muscle that he builds, right? 6,000 calories a day. That's his caloric intake, right? If he goes on a cut, he eats about what I eat. He goes down to that, right? That's his bodybuilding thing, right? And out of his 6,000 calories a day, he eats about 300 grams of protein a day, right? He's a 300-pound guy, right? So he eats about 300 grams of protein a day. And so he has 1,200 grams of protein. Now, he's probably, but he has his bloods done every 3 months. He pays £1,000 a year, £250 every 3 months for a private doctor to do his bloods because it's his sport. It's what he dedicates his life to. But when you are taking as many performance enhancing drugs as he's taking, and you are eating as much protein as he's eating, he needs to make sure his bloods are as balanced as they can be. Right? They're not great. They're never going to be great for the amount of steroids that he takes, but that's, he takes the trade-off for the fact that, of the sport that he loves and the size that he likes to be. He eats 300 grams a day. Does he eat enough protein? No, his kidney function's generally fine from his protein intake. If you have kidney issues, right? Yeah, and this isn't having one kidney. A friend of mine has one kidney. He eats 200 odd grams of protein a day. It's if you have any sort of kidney issues, a high protein diet. But again, the diet that I promote, right, even if you have some kidney issues, generally shouldn't cause you it. Because I don't tell people to eat 300-400 grams of protein. I don't even tell people to eat a specific amount of protein a day. I tell them to prioritize protein in a main meal. Why I get my clients to prioritize protein isn't for bodybuilding, isn't hitting a certain amount to go hench in the gym and build loads of muscle, right? I promote protein for satiation, to fill you up. And generally, if you prioritize within your calorie allowance, you prioritize a source of protein, a chicken breast, some Greek yogurt with your breakfast, some 5% fat mince with your tea or whatever you're having. That'll be enough protein to fill you up. That'll be enough protein generally to fill you up, and it'll never, anyone that's got no kidney issues whatsoever, eating under 200 grams of protein a day is never going to cause you any issues. Does that kind of make sense? If you are concerned at all, consult your GP. That's the basic practice, or pay to have your bloods done, right? If you're like, oh no, I'm eating 250 grams of protein every day and I am a bit worried it could affect my kidney function, pay to have your bloods done and just get the all clear once a year. But for 99% of people, the amount you'd have to eat is ridiculous. So yeah, no, it's all good. Neil, how important is it to include rest days, and if so, how many? I assume you like rest days in terms of training. You need to look. It depends what you. There's so many different paths to this and branches to this answer. It depends how you're training, what you're putting your body through, to whether you need rest days. It's what you class as a rest day. So, for example, yesterday I went to the gym and I just did 40 minutes on a cross trainer. Right, I've got a few niggly injuries at the moment, and I just couldn't be bothered lifting weights yesterday, which is very unlike me. But I wanted to get some steps in, so I just went and did 40 minutes on cross trainer. That is a rest day for me in certain parts of my body. Right, it's a rest for most of my muscles from putting them through resistance training. So I'm not necessarily. So you can exercise every single day, is what I'm trying to say, right? But it's what you class now. What you class as a rest day. Like, if you lift weights 5 days a week, if you go to the gym 7 days a week and you lift weights Monday to Friday, but when you go to the gym on a Saturday, Sunday, you just walk on a treadmill or do some cardio like I did, or you might do core, like a bit of a core workout, a little bit of a cardio workout, or you might do something weight-based, but it's really light, like just ridiculously light. Like you might normally shoulder press 26 kilo dumbbells for 10 reps, but you go at the weekend and you shoulder press 8 kilo dumbbells, but for 30 reps, right? So it's just activating the muscles a little bit, getting a little bit, but so there's loads of different parameters. I think sometimes mentally it's also important because things can have rest. So, if you go to the gym, I've been going to the gym 7 days a week, a lot for the last 2 months. And I'm going to be totally honest with you, it's starting to have a bit of a negative effect. So I need to mix things up a little bit. And what I mean by that is, like yesterday, I went to the gym. I was like, I can't be honest. I never ever do that. Whereas yesterday I did, but I used it as an excuse to get a bit of extra cardio in. And, sometimes you've got to listen to your body. Too much of a good thing can become a bad thing. So, I've sort of said, and why we've started going to the gym Saturdays, I go to the gym Monday to Friday, right? I work from home. I work for myself. I've got flexibility and I prioritize my time to get to the gym. Rachel, now she's working full time. If we've got nothing on at the weekend, she likes to go Saturday, Sundays to the gym. Fair enough, 100%, because some nights she's a bit tired after work and she just wants to come home, right? So we've sort of got into a pattern where Rachel goes to the gym Tuesdays and Thursdays. Definitely goes Tuesdays, Thursdays. Most of the time we go together on a Friday now. She works from home, but then she wants to go Saturday, Sunday, and I want to go with her, right? But I've sort of said to Rach, if I'm training 6 days a week now, when we go on a Sunday, she can go in the gym, and I might just go for a little swim and a steam and a sauna, right? And just have a chill that way. I don't need to train, or I'll just prioritize doing some extra cardio rather than lifting weights because I've got a couple of niggly injuries. I'm probably overtraining a little bit. So it's about finding that balance. I would say, if you're training more than 4 days a week in a row, lifting weights and putting your body through the rigors, progressive overload, training to failure, I think it's very important to have 2 rest days a week at least. Right, so if you're training 5 days a week, 2 rest days. If you're having 4 days a week, 2 rest days, and then you might on the last day of the week go. So you might do a 4 on 2 off cycle. Right, now those 2 days off, like I say, if you then want to do your cardio in those 2, or go for an hour and a half walk outside just to increase, fine. Right, rest days doesn't mean you just need to sit on the sofa, but you can also do that as well. Right, if you want to. That's what I'm saying. There's lots of different pathways to the answer. Yeah. Right. Let me scan up. Is swimming classed as a workout? 100%. Anything that raises your heart rate is classed as a workout. Cleaning the house is a workout. Right. Going for a pacey walk or going for a walk that anything that where you take your resting heart rate, where you take your heart rate 60 to 80% of maximum. Or generally, again, a lot of branches to this, around double of resting would be a workout, right? Some of you guys might be very, very unfit, right? Or and your resting heart rate might be quite high. So you don't want to take your heart rate double. But if your health isn't too bad, so like my resting heart rate is about 50, but I'm quite fit and healthy. So if I double my heart rate, it's around 100. Not quite a workout for me, but not a million miles away. But for most people, resting heart rate is about 60 beats per minute. So if you double that to 120 beats per minute, irrelevant of what you're doing, whether, like I say, you're out having a walk, whether you're cleaning the house, whether you go for a swim, whether you play tennis, whether you play badminton, whether you play, even if you're playing golf, it doesn't matter. It's a workout is not designed. He's not determined by the activity. It's determined about what your heart rate does while doing the activity. Yeah. I took a client on this week, and her job, she's a cleaner, and she said, I think she said in a consultation form, I don't work out unless you class cleaning as, yes, you got a manual job. Right? Now, don't get me wrong. If you are a cleaner and you clean 5 days a week, 6 hours a day, or you do whatever you do, 3 days a week, when we do the same activity over and over again, and there's no real need for progression, or there's no real way to progress it, your body will adapt to it, but still, it's, so you'll get fitter. And so, what I'm trying to say there is, if I went today and started a cleaning job, right, after 8 hours of cleaning, I would be knackered. I'd be absolutely on my bum, right? Because it's something my body's not used to doing for 8 hours a day. In a month's time, it would just become my job, right? It would just be my job. It doesn't mean I wouldn't get tired at the end of the day because I'm moving and it's physical, but would I be as tired as the very first day I did it? No, because your body adapts and gets used to what you do over and over again. But that doesn't necessarily mean it's not a workout anymore. Like I say, it's all where your average heart rate is while doing something, you know? Swimming's amazing. It really, really is. Especially if um, uh, um, um, especially if you're if you've got any like mobility issues or some severe weight issues, because a lot of exercises can put pressure through the body. Swimming takes that away. It's like being like not being in gravity. It's one of the first things when I started exercising. After about 3 or 4 months, I wanted to start swimming, and the gym that I joined, it was a YMCA gym, council gym, and you could never determine whether there were kids coming in the pool. So I was just extremely self-conscious at 30 odd stone. And that's when I joined Ribby Hall Village, because they have a members only swimming pool. So Ribby Hall Village is a holiday park. It's and they have a great big leisure pool there with slides and this, that, and the other. And then behind the leisure pool, they've got a 25-meter adults only members pool. And yes, you're still going to get people looking at you, but I'm just like, do you know what? It's adults. They do have a little bit more decorum than children. And I thought if I can angle it where, I find out when it's quieter or, when it's a quieter time, I can probably get through the change rooms and get in the pool without anyone being too judgmental. It just so happens the first time, it's like anything, we have this fear of the unknown. I've not been swimming for 20 years, right? The first time I went, there was no issues. There was several people there. No one made me feel uncomfortable. No one made me feel like they were judging me. And I even got out the pool and went in the steam room for half an hour and had a natter to someone, right? And I loved it. I absolutely loved it. And it didn't mean there might have been the odd look here and there. I didn't really notice it. At the end of the day, I was 6'5" and well over 30 stone. It's not like, I'm a piece of paper, am I? That's just passing by. You can't help but see me. And I had to accept that. But that's something I did start to accept. And a lot of us are very, very self-conscious. We only judge. I don't want to trigger people when I say this, but this is the honest truth, right? We only have a fear of being judged because we judge other people. That's the honest truth of it. And I was very much guilty of that. And I don't mean when you say you judge other people, I'm not saying you're judging other people in a negative way, but I was. How many of you guys here are nervous to go to a gym because you're like, well, everyone in that gym will be dead fit and dead healthy, and as soon as you're judging them, that's judgment. Assuming that everyone in a gym is dead fit, dead healthy, and looks down on people that are overweight. That you are negatively judging someone. Whether you want to admit it or not, because that's what I used to do. That was in my head before I went to the gym. That was one of my gym phobias. That was one thing that held me back from joining the gym, is that everyone in the gym's fit, healthy, got a six-pack, and when they see 37 stone Neil walk through the door, they're going to be disgusted by me. That is me negatively judging other people. And, and because I'm thinking I'm negatively judging someone else, you just automatically think that they're negatively. Now, don't get me wrong, I totally get it. I was morbidly obese for a long time, 20 odd years. And I had the looks and the hate comments and all this, that, and the other. So again, you do have reason for that judgment. It's not just like it's an unjustified thing. But that's the general thing, isn't it? And I was guilty of that. When I started my weight loss journey, I just started focusing on me. And I did get that mentality. Look, if anyone is going to negatively judge me in a way, that's their issue. It's nothing to do with me. Now, I'm here trying to better myself, right? And they need to do the same, whatever shape they're in, you know? But when I sort of got into that mentality, and that then allowed me to step into a gym, step into a swimming pool, face some of my fears, I realized I was creating them in here a lot more than they actually were out there in the real world. You know, swimming is my happy place. Switches off the mind. Although I don't look at my calorie counter on my watch, it burns a good amount of calories. It does. Look, at the end of the day, what our calorie burn on our watch says and what we actually burn in calories is totally different. I'm going to go to the gym today and train, and my watch will say I've burned about 650 calories. I won't have burned anywhere near that. Probably knocking on 400. But we don't go to the gym to burn calories. We go to the gym to improve our physical health, to improve our mental health. Yes, we will burn some calories, and that is always going to be a tiny bonus on top of the calories we burn through metabolism and everyday movement. But, if we do things to improve our physical and mental health, the knock-on effects of that to our overall journey is just unrivaled. And this is what I was saying there about, I went into my journey. My mental health was about as good as it had ever been for probably all my life. I just had this little switch in my head, and I worked on myself a little bit, and I changed things. And just there where, I stopped judging people. And when I stopped judging people, I stopped having a fear of people judging me, and it puts you in such a better place. It does, because what it just did for me was it massively reduced my need to emotionally eat. I didn't, I always say that I've talked a lot about this. You need a new coping mechanism. So food was my coping mechanism to get me through life when I had a bad day. Food, when I felt rejected, food. When I felt lonely, food. It was always there for me. When I was stressed, food. When I was angry, food. It soothed my brain. That's how I felt. It was always there. It was my coping mechanism. And I always say, you need to find a new coping mechanism. Going to the gym isn't a new coping mechanism. It's a wrong way to word it, in a way, too many ways, right? And what I mean by that is, I don't mean you need a new coping mechanism. You need to reduce the need for a coping mechanism. That's what you need, and that's what exercise does, right? It improves your mental health. When your mental health is better, the coping mechanism, when I needed food every day because I was stressed, I didn't, because I wasn't stressed every day. When I needed food every day to mask my anger, I didn't, because I wasn't angry anymore. When I needed food every day to mask my loneliness, right, I didn't need that every day. When I needed food every day to mask my fear of rejection, I didn't need it because I worked on it. Doesn't mean I still didn't have those issues, but I reduced those things in myself, which then reduced the need for a coping mechanism. So yeah, exercise is a new coping mechanism in a way, but it just reduces the need for a coping. Does that make sense? Yeah. Anyway, let me scan through TikTok. I feel like I've done a lot on Facebook this week. Did you get the bird out the other week? It didn't go. It didn't go in. I just thought it had. I was sat in here the other week. Door was open. We've got like French windows on the back of our house, and our bedroom leads onto the back. So we live in a bungalow. And yeah, I was sat here, and I was convinced a bird flew in. Can't quite show you, but I think what actually happened was I've got my door now open to my office. And I think a bird had flown, and it was the reflection of that I thought had gone in. It wasn't. It must have been going the other way. Does that make sense? Absolutely not, Neil. But no, it did go in. It was all good. It was all good. I was fully. I went in with a towel. I thought, because we've had birds in the house before. I've had a bat in the house before. yeah, I've had a bat in my house before. Right. So we do live in the country. And we've got it's actually protected. We've got trees across the road from us that are protected because a lot of bats live in them. How a bat ended up in our house, I have no idea. It must have been summer, windows wide open. We don't open the windows as much anymore because we've got the dogs. And again, we live in a bungalow. So you open the windows wide open downstairs and the dogs could jump out and Blossom wouldn't go anywhere, but Betty would do one. But yeah, we've had a bat in the house before. That was interesting. I just had to get a thing and usher it out. Rachel was like, don't bother me. I'm fine with stuff like that. You know. Why do you use protein powder? Just eat food. Well, I do eat food as well. It doesn't have to be such a cut and shut thing, right? Protein powder is food. It's dry powdered milk. You know, that's like saying, does anyone give the baby formula? Instead of breastfeeding. It's like it's food, isn't it? It just is. That's kind of it doesn't need to be so cut and shut. Dry powdered milk is food. When I add water to protein powder and it rehydrates that milk, it's food. I don't drink milk and go, that's not food. So, and why have protein powder? It's just a quick, easy, convenient way of getting a hit of protein into the body. Why not? Why wouldn't you have it? I love dry powdered milk. And not only is it dry powdered milk, it's flavoured, so it tastes nice. And a lot of the lactose and the fat is taken out of it, so it's fairly low calorie. So, and although this doesn't make a difference to weight loss, whey protein powder also has the highest bioavailability of all protein sources. So for me, I eat protein to fill me up for satiation, but I also eat protein to support my training in the gym to build muscle. So the bioavailability of protein is important. And whey protein is number one. It's the best there is. So I always have at least 50 grams of whey protein a day, whether that's in a mix of a shake and yogurt or whether it's in protein porridge or whatever. I always get a hit from it, So I eat food and take protein powder, but to me, protein powder is food. And if anyone doesn't see protein powder as food, you need to change your thinking because, like I say, it's just dry powdered milk. Yeah. Neil, you're looking really well and very lean. Very kind of you to say. Thank you very much. We're still going. We're still on it. At the moment, I'm not really. Again, I'm going to talk about this in my weekly weight loss vlog, which I'll be recording. I'm going to go to the gym now, actually. I've got a few bits and pieces to do. I've got a bit of admin to do. Then I'm going to go to the gym. Then I'm going to do my weekly weight loss vlog this afternoon. Early on this afternoon. I'll get it edited. I'll get it up at tea time. I'm going to discuss it. Weight loss isn't actually, I've kind of decided, isn't my main priority for the next 6 weeks. 5 weeks, really. And I'll discuss why. Doesn't mean I'm not actually going to try and stick to a calorie deficit, but I'm not putting any pressure on myself to hit my ideal deficit. I'm having a little bit of a mix-up with it. And there's a few different reasons for that. I'm going away in 4 weeks on Friday for my birthday. When I get back from that, I've got 4 weeks till I go away again. Weight loss then will be a priority. We'll shuffle the pack and put that into place. I think. It all depends on where I am on the scales when I get back from that breakaway. The next time weight loss is definitely going to be a priority is when I get back from Tenerife in October. So I get back from Tenerife the 10th of October, which is a Friday. I'm going to take the Saturday, Sunday, and then the Monday, the 13th of October, 2 months. I'm going to be on it for 2 months. Weight loss will be a priority then. I'm going to go back into being a hermit, right? If we do have social events, I'll just drive to them, no drinking, eye on the prize of Christmas. I'm going to hit it for 2 months and finish the year on a high. So although weight loss at the moment, certainly for the next 4 or 5 weeks, isn't a priority, that doesn't mean that the other option's weight gain. I'm not prioritizing weight gain either. I'm quite happy sitting where I'm at. Some weeks I might gain a little bit. Some weeks I might lose a little bit. Overall, though, I think I'm going to be kind of more maintenance. But we'll see. I'm just going to keep doing what I'm doing. Right? And I'll explain the reasons why. Like I say, my weekly wellness vlog. I'm 145 pounds down. Amazing. Work with food. Think about food and everything surrounding me is food related. Yeah, I do Slimming World and it's helping to control urges. Not a popular choice, but it's helping. Slimming World isn't a popular choice. And, I do talk about it a lot. Are there certain people that will use Slimming World and have successful weight loss journeys? Yes, of course there is, because if there wasn't, it would disappear. For the majority of people, it creates a very unhealthy relationship with food. It's very restrictive. But maybe someone like Luke that's come on YouTube here that's constantly working around food, where the temptation, maybe he needs a method that's slightly more restrictive. We have to appreciate that at times, but, Slimming World will always lead to successful weight loss. The big question is, will it lead to a successful weight loss journey? Luke can only answer that, because if Luke comes back on my YouTube in 5 years' time and he's still at least 145 pounds down, the answer is yes. And he's still following Slimming World. The answer is yes. And again, we have to appreciate that at times. Kelly Paul Thompson, good morning. Good morning, Paul. Hope you're good, mate. I've gone from walking 100 steps per month at 40 stone to 29 stone and doing 4,500 a day. Great change. Great change. And this is the thing, Yes, we talk about the generic number, 10,000 steps a day. And Luke eventually will get there. But, Luke was doing 900 steps a month. A month, right? He didn't put a day, he put a month. So Luke was basically... Can I ask what job... Did you do that same job, Luke, at 40 stone? So what job were you doing that's constantly surrounded by food with the temptation? Because when I think of that, I'm thinking like chef or something like that, where you were sedentary. Obviously, you didn't move 900 steps, unless you meant 900 steps a day, but you did put a month. Which is literally 20 steps a day, isn't it? Well, 30 steps a day over a month. So I assume you were office-based or maybe home-based or, but then I'm thinking if you're constantly surrounded by food, unless it's just you work in the food industry and you're just talking about food all the time, but you might be a food writer or critic, or I don't know. I'm just interested. But, I always say this, 10,000, where is your 10,000 steps a day? That is the big question. Because Luke has done amazing. He's gone from 40 stone to 29 stone. He's lost 10 stone. Same job. I'm a chef. I used to chair at a griddle at my heaviest. Right, okay. So actually your movement, although you wouldn't have been registering steps because you were sat down, right, you're still moving about and you're still moving your arms, which at 40 stone, your actual calorie burn would have been fairly decent. But now, Luke, doing 4,500 steps at 29 stone, that is his 10,000 steps a day. Because I'm currently like 10 stone lighter than Luke, and I do 10,000 steps a day. Our calorie, although Luke's doing half the amount of steps that I do, or a little bit less, his calorie burn, because he's still moving his weight around, it'll still be fantastic. And that's a massive change, mate. That is ridiculous. So you to go from 900 steps a day to a month, to basically, over 100,000 steps a month. What a change that is. It's changed your life. Even though I know you probably still like, I want to lose another 10 stone or whatever, you've changed your life. Just the fact that you've got some mobility. And 4,500 steps a day is around about 40 minutes of walking, right? I'm not saying it's 40 minutes of just constant walking non-stop, but it is 40 minutes of walking, whether that's 10 minutes 4 times a day, whether it's 5 minutes 8 times a day. Massive change. And that's worth more than what the scales have said to you, mate. Worth way more. And 5.5 stone down since last August. Need to lose another 1.5. Hit up, but slow due to mobility. Somebody, it doesn't matter how fast you lose it. Yes, it might, but I'll be honest with you, 5.5 stone in a year is not slow weight loss. That is not slow weight loss. I recommend people lose about 4 stone in a year. So 5.5 isn't. Can anyone lose 5.5 stone in a year healthily, sustainably? Yes, they can. Right? I recommend 4 stone. Can you lose a bit? Of course you can. Right? I actually put most of my clients in a deficit to lose about 5 stone a year. Right? 5.5 stone a year. It all depends on how accurate they are, weight loss breaks, consistency, things like that. 4 stone in a year, though, is fantastic. Yeah. Powered by mental health. We have to be. It's amazing that a little switch in the brain has so much control. 100%. And that was a big thing for my journey. It really, really was. And I've said that so many times. It was like something just changed. Just that little switch. That's it, right? And it can just open that one little switch. One little switch can turn on 1,000 lights. That one little light switch. It doesn't matter, right? So people might say it's amazing how a little switch can lead to such a big change. A little switch can turn on, like I say, 1,000,000 lights if it's all connected correctly. So yeah, 100%. Been watching this live YouTube on the telly whilst achieving 6,500 steps on the new treadmill. Great little gadget for me to get steps up. 100%. Treadmills, walking pads, things like that, they can be a great addition. If you are someone that, for whatever reason, can't get outside all the time, right? And that could be down to mental health. It could be down to, a mobility thing. So you might have a fear of falling or balance. But if you're on a treadmill, you can set the pace. You can hold on. You can have some handles. You've got a walking pad. A lot of them have rails at the front that you can hold on to for extra balance. They can be a really good option. Even if you're a fair weather walker and you just hate the weather, you hate the cold, right? The only fear is with treadmills and walking pads is they can quite often become clothes horses, right? They really, really can. And we need to stop that happening. So I always recommend, things like I come live, several times a week. So you could be like, yeah, every time Neil does a live, I'm going to go on my treadmill and walk on my walking pad. I'm going to get my iPad out or get it on the telly because, 90% of the lives now are triple stream where we're on TikTok, but we're on YouTube, which you can put through your TV, right? And I'll just watch Neil's live for an hour while he waffles on about weight loss and I'll get my steps in. And that's great. And if you've done 6,500 steps by 9:45 in the morning, just pottering around the house or whatever, you're going to add another couple of thousand to that at least. So great start. Great start to the day, Sarah. Loving that. I use my walking pad a lot during the winter if the weather is bad. Yeah, do you know what? I never have an issue getting my steps in. I genuinely don't. But if I did, I've got massive white hair there, which is absolutely that's making me want to emotionally eat. I'm only joking. I'm growing old gracefully. Yeah, I have ummed and ahed about it myself, and especially for Rachel as well. Rachel's been like, "Oh, I want to get home. I wouldn't mind," So we might invest in one. Again, a little bit concerned it could become a clothes horse, but it's one of them walking past now, 150 quid. So it's kind of a bit of a luxury that if you only used it, like I say, you just thought, the weather's just rubbish today, let's get it down. And especially where I am here in the office, because I've got a TV there, I can have it, and Rachel could come in here. I've actually moved my sofa. My sofa stopped my desk moving. So I've moved my sofa around now in it. And we only put the sofa in here really as just to get it out of Rachel's office. But now I've got the ability to, I can slide my desk. I can make quite a bit more room. I have actually thought, and I might do this, of spinning my desk round. The only problem with that is I put my label here, so you wouldn't see my label, and having this behind me. So I don't know about that, because then I'd be actually facing my telly, and then I'd have a lot more space in this bit. But you don't need to know that. You don't need to know about my feng shui of my office. Anyway, let me scan up. I'm going to go through TikTok and I'm going to shoot off. The time has just disappeared this morning. It really, really has. Karen Hayes, good morning. I felt that really positive knock-on effect of the gym this time, keeping me very accountable. Brilliant, Faye. And I think the fact that you've gone with the PT, they do keep you accountable. When I was a personal trainer, a lot of people, they had the ability to go to the gym and train on themselves. They didn't really have any phobias with going to the gym. They kind of knew what they were doing, but it is nice when someone else kind of just instructs you and you just have to put the effort in. I get that, Thought about these walking pads. Think I would need one for each leg, though. Paul, I don't know, mate, to be honest with you. For insurance purposes, health and safety purposes, and things like that, treadmills will always, or walking pads, will always give a weight, and they can do a lot more. I'll be honest with you. A lot of them are like limited, to like some of them are like some of the cheaper ones are, yes, you might need one a more solid built one. Because I was looking at one and it did say weight limit was like 110 kilos. And I'm like, I'm a bit above that. That's only like 240 pounds. So, but I think they do it, if it broke, they're like, well, who was using it? Well, I was using it. Right. Well, you're above the weight limit for it. No wonder it's broke. So you voided the warranty. I think it's like, the treadmills in the gym, they are literally like in not industrial, commercial treadmills. They're a flipping fortune. They're built as solid as anything. And when I was, to be fair, there are new treadmills now to what the old ones were, but their weight limit, I think, was like 150 kilos for them. So, I used to get clients that come in quite a lot more. I was over 150 kilo when I started at the gym. And, I did ask the gym and I said, look, are you all right? And they were like, yeah, that's fine. And then I just got the client to sign a disclaimer that just sort of said, look, you're aware that you breached the weight limits, the recommended weight limit for this product. Are you still happy to go on it? And that was the same for all the equipment in the gym. All the equipment in the gym went up to like highest weight was like 150. But I generally think that the companies do it just to massively cover themselves. So I just got my clients to sign a disclaimer and say, yes, I'm fully aware I breached the weight limit of most of the equipment in the gym, but any equipment that I fully understand it's my liability. And there was never any issues. There were never any issues whatsoever. You should have had your label printed back to front so it shows the right way around on your lives. Yeah, to be honest with you, I did think about that, but I actually had the label printed for content, and with content we mirror the content anyway. So it always, when on content, it always looks the right. That's the main reason I had this done. I didn't have it done for my lives or anything like that, to be honest with you. I sort of had it done more for when I'm doing a quick TikTok video. And I could mirror the live, like if I'm on thingy now, I can mirror the live now. And it's the right way around. I can do it on here. I can't remember quite how. Where's the options? It might be FaceTime camera settings. Hang on. It might be the video. There we go. See? So I could mirror. You can mirror the live and have it the right way round anyway. I suppose on YouTube, Facebook, you don't get. It's always weird when you mirror because I'm like, oh, I want to make me think that way, and then like now you can see like more of the office that way because it's always backwards. So yeah, you can mirror the camera, and I could have it the right way round if I wanted to. And all you guys now are going, it's weird, Neil. It's weird because when I move to the right, I move to the left, and when I move to the left, I move to the right. But yeah, I could just mirror the camera and have it the right way around. But like I say, I got the label more for when I'm doing content. But yeah, I do. I definitely could have done. Thoughts on regular fasting? I just think fasting's a waste of time. You're trying to, if you're trying to lose weight, does it have some benefits for the odd person? Possibly. Very limited. Very, very limited. But at the end of the day, I'm coaching people that are on a weight loss journey. Right? That's what I'm doing. Right? I'm coaching people that are on a weight loss journey, and most people have a weight issue, have disordered eating. Two wrongs will never make a right. Fasting is a disordered eating pattern. Right now, people might come on and go, well, no, we always used to fast 1,000 years ago or 10,000 years ago. We were hunter-gatherers. You never knew when your next meal was coming from. You'd go days and then you'd eat. It isn't 10,000 years ago, Doris. It's 2025, love. Right? So trying to base our eating in 2025 or something we did 10,000 years ago is flipping stupid. Right? So, we're trying to create a normalized eating pattern. And you're not going to create a normalized eating pattern by using a disordered eating pattern. And again, people could argue, well, why is having 3 square meals a day normalized eating and only eating once a day disordered? Because it just is. right? For the rights or wrongs of it, we've just grown into this pattern of eating breakfast, eating lunch, eating tea, having it. It's just the way it is. It's 2025. It's evolution. It's just the way things have moved on. I'm going to mirror my camera backwards because it always feels a bit weird. Put my camera from not mirroring, if that makes sense. It just is, for the rights or wrongs of it. It's the way things have evolved. And in another, 200 years' time, our eating patterns might be different to what we do now. It just is what it is. So it's I just don't see the point of it. I don't see the point of it. If you've got to be nil by mouth because you're going for an operation, fine, right? If you've got DMV and you can't keep anything down, and every time you eat something, it either comes out one end or the other end, fine. It might be worth, let's just not eat anything and let's just try and sip some water for 24 hours. Let its bug clear out and then go back. Yeah. But, that's what it is. I fast by not having breakfast. Yeah, but it's not fast. It's not like, we shouldn't label it as fasting. Like, I know breakfast is what it's there for, but I won't eat breakfast today. I'm going to finish this live now. I'm going to do a couple of bits and pieces, and I'm going to head to the gym. Right? I'm not fasting. Right? I'm just not eating breakfast. Right? Some days I'll eat it. Some days I don't eat it. And I just think if we put that thing in where, I'm going to fast and not eat breakfast, every now and then you're going to want to eat breakfast because you're hungry or because you're going out for breakfast. Now, if you've got the mentality where, most days I don't eat, Rachel doesn't eat breakfast, right? So don't bother for the same reasons as that, because she's like, I don't really feel that hungry and I can keep going till dinner time, right? That's fine, But as long as you've got the mentality where you're literally like, no, you know what? Some days I'm going to go out to a party. I'm going to go to an all-day wedding and there's going to be food at 10 o'clock at night and I'm happy to eat it then. Or, some days, we're going to go out for brunch and we're going out for a bottomless brunch with some friends, or we're going out for this. And, or you wake up some days and you're like, no, I'm hungry. Right? I am genuinely hungry. Right? I didn't really have that much of a big tea last night. And you're like, no, I'm going to eat today. That's fine. That's all right. But if, so you're unconscious. Everyone does. Everyone unconsciously fasts. Right? Like, what do you class as a fast? Like, if the last thing you ate last night was at 9 o'clock at night time, the first thing you eat this morning is at 9 a.m., you've had an evening snack, you've had your breakfast, but you've not eaten for half a day. I class that as a fast. So everyone unconsciously fasts, unless you are someone that's waking up all night and just every 3 hours eating something. But most people go at least 10 to 12 hours in a day without eating. Now you might be like, no, I eat at 10 o'clock at night time, Neil, and I eat at 6 in the morning when I wake up. It's still 8 hours. That's still a third of a day. That to me is still a fast. So I think everyone unconsciously fasts. Doesn't need labeling as anything, And again, if you are someone that's like, I don't eat from 1 p.m. till 9. I don't eat till 12 p.m. till 8. I only have an eating window of 12 p.m. till 8 p.m. That's fine. Or I have an eating window 1 p.m. till 9. That's fine. But you've got to have that freedom and flexibility in your mind that if the odd day you are hungry and you have breakfast, it's all good. If the odd day you need, like say you've got a bottomless brunch, it's all good. If one day you go out for a nice meal at night time, a little date night with someone, and and you end up having going out for a nice meal at 7:30, and it's 9:15 by the time you have your dessert, and then you might have another little glass of wine afterwards. It's fine. If you are someone that is fasting, and if you ever do eat breakfast or ever do eat after a certain time, it starts to mess with your head and you're like, oh God, I shouldn't be doing this. I'm meant to be fasting. It's this, that, and the other. That's when it's a disordered eating pattern. Yeah. So a more flexible mindset around restricted eating. That's weight loss, isn't it? So you've literally described weight loss, or how to have a healthy, sustainable weight loss, right? So when we lose weight, we need to restrict our eating, right? We need to rein in our calories. We need to rein in certain types of foods that we eat, right? We need to have boundaries. We need to track our calories, or we need to do something where we do restrict our eating. But where a lot of people go wrong is they don't have a flexible mindset around it. They have a fixed mindset around restricted eating. And a fixed mindset around restricted eating for the majority of people is unsustainable. And you're going to crash and burn, right? But if you have a flexible mindset around restricted, so I eat 18,250 calories a week. I burn 24,000 calories a week. So eating 18,000 out of 24 is restricted eating. But I have a flexible mindset around that restricted eating because I bank some calories through the week, and I eat more at the weekend. I don't demonize any foods. If I want to enjoy a McDonald's, I will enjoy a McDonald's. If I want to enjoy an afternoon tea with my mum on a weekend, I'll enjoy an afternoon tea with my mum. If my mum had said to me, for my birthday, I want to go out for a full English breakfast, I will take her out for a full English breakfast. If you're someone that's so adamant that you only eat in this restricted eating window, right, and if you eat out of it, it messes with your mindset, that's kind of what I'm getting at. Yeah. So it's 100%, like I say, Rachel doesn't eat breakfast, right? Very rarely. She'll have it the odd time at the weekend because she never feels hungry. And the first time she eats, you know, they always finish work at 12 for lunch, and they actually use their lunch hour to go for a bit of a walk, right? The walk might be to Asda, it might be to Aldi, it might just be around where they're working to get some steps in. Excuse me. And then when they get back to the desk, they'll have lunch kind of when they start work again. So Rachel's very similar to that. She'll never say she does fasting or, intermittent fasting, as it were. Right? Because at the weekend we go to the gym, and sometimes we get back from the gym and I'll do a yogurt bowl that I'll have on today. And she will have breakfast. Right? But if she does have breakfast, it doesn't affect her mindset that she's had it because she normally doesn't. Does that kind of make sense? People overcomplicate it. It's not too hard if calories are lower than maintenance. You'll lose. That's all it is. That's all it is. But it's how you put your calories lower than maintenance. That is always the thing. It's always down to the approach. Always. As you know, I've only been on plan 2 weeks. I've generally found having my breakfast calories and lunch together as a longer meal better. However, the odd day I've woken up really hungry, then I've made sure I've eaten breakfast to stop me craving. Exactly. So it's just, you might have this regular eating pattern, but every now and then you need to know that if that ever breaks for whatever reason, as long as it doesn't affect what's going on in here, and you're like, yeah, it just is what it is today. I'm a bit hungry today. Let's have breakfast. Nothing worse than feeling hungry. And sometimes pushing through to lunch, I'm feeling hungry, can have a more negative effect throughout your day's eating. Whereas actually going, no, I'm going to have a nice high protein breakfast. That can have a much more positive effect, I had a terrible weekend of takeaways and booze. Back to it today. Lots of water. I'm going to flush out the rubbish. Mad how it makes you feel so terrible. I think that is kind of the worst knock-on effect. And it's not the takeaways, it's the booze, right? If you have a weekend of eating if you've had a really good week, eating Monday to Friday, a lot of healthy foods, and then you have a full weekend of eating nothing but takeaways, right? Mackie's breakfast in the morning, just a butty from Greg's for lunch, and then a Chinese for your tea. That would not make you feel rubbish on a Monday morning. Booze does, right? But what comes along with booze generally is, certainly with me, is then craving it. And the whole combination of things just wipes you out a little bit. Every now and then, it's part of life, and we can't demonize ourselves. If you're doing it week in, week out, Rachel went out Saturday night. She got pretty smashed. Right, she was feeling very sorry for herself Saturday. She weren't feeling the best today, and she's gone to work today. Got like a bit, but Rachel's not been drunk this year. She doesn't really drink, right? She's had a couple of glasses of wine on holiday or the odd vodka here and there, but she is not. So literally, and I said to Rachel, I said, if you can get to the 27th of July and have never had a hangover for the whole of 2025. you've done good. And she's like, no, I know. And she was like, it's just a good catch up with friends. And I said, is it not worth the trade off for the night? And she went, yeah, absolutely. There you go. But that's, every now and then. Right, guys, I'm out of here. I've got to go. I always end up doing a bit longer on a Monday morning. I did need to go a bit sooner, but it's all good. It's all good. It is what it is. Yes, I am out of here. Hope you all have a wonderful day. It is a new weight loss week. If you are struggling, remember, I've still got my summer deals on. They're running for another 4 weeks. It's payday this week. Might be time to jump on board. We've got half price sign up to my 1-to-1 monthly plan. So it's just 15 quid to get on board. We can get you going a week today, which will be the 4th of August. The biggest saving at the moment is my yearly plan. 1 year sign up, one-off payment, 260 quid for a full 12 months of 1-to-1 weight loss coaching with me. You pay for a year monthly, including sign up. It's normally £390. So it's a third off that. You're getting a third off. Yeah. So it's basically making your monthlies work out like 20 quid a month for a year, where it's like £21.50 a month. So if you are struggling, there's no need to struggle. Come get on board. We'll get you started a week today. You get instant access to the community today. It's a new weight loss week. New set of calories in the bank. New, what else is new? Oh, step count is 0. So let's get at it. I'm back today, 8 p.m. TikTok, Facebook, YouTube. So yeah, literally, I am back in 10 hours. So have a wonderful day, and you can come and tell me all about it at 8 p.m. tonight if you're free. TikTok, I'll sign off to you first. Have a lovely day. And then Facebook, YouTube, same to you. Have a great day. Hopefully, if you're free later on, I'll see you at 8 p.m. tonight.